You are now listening to Nerd Hour. Amateur Hour. Please, allow me to show you something. Let's get to work.
Well, I feel like I'm in a hole in the ground sometimes. Welcome to Film Nerd Tower.
That is depressing.
I know. Hi
Welcome,
guys.
everyone.
I'm Nathaniel Shoemaker.
And I'm Noah Sweeto, and we will be your hosts for the next hour.
How quaint we usually are.
Yes.
Yes, if you saw the title of the video,
Mr. Burns.
we will be talking about... Oh, you want me to be Mr. Burns the whole time? Or who you want
Oh
me to be?
no, I was saying I'm going to be Mr. Burns.
Well, then I'll be Kermit the Frog here.
Yes, release the hounds.
Today
Smithers.
we are talking about Hole in the Ground, a movie from 2019 by...
Alright, don't worry.
Alright, yeah, we need to stop that.
But this is a movie called The Hole in the Ground that came out in 2019. It is an indie horror film, which I would say is actually less of... it's a steady blend of sci-fi horror again, just like Vivarium.
Yeah.
So I definitely thought that this would be a great follow-up for that. And I don't think I was wrong. What now, right off the bat, let's just also make sure that you guys can see it. Right now it is only for rent on pretty much everything, so
You can get
it.
it with, or you can watch it on, it says Amazon Prime, Sling, Fubo TV, Hulu, and Showtime, but all of those other extensions, you have to have the Showtime Premium extension,
yeah.
which you can add on to those streaming services. So if you have the Showtime extension, you can watch it for free. Otherwise,
For those of you who
rent it or
don't,
purchase.
it's pretty much rent. But also, depending on the time of the sale, if you're like me and you just decide to go buy it,
Yeah.
and you just are a digital person, because I know there are a couple people out there, you can go do that as well.
Yeah, this is an interesting one where, like, I think much like you, because let's do what we usually do, where we look at the Rotten Tomatoes rating. I don't think we agree with the audience on this one, because the critics have it at 83% certified fresh, where audiences have it at 48%.
Yeah, which again, I didn't see the point in. It was very dumb.
The movie?
No.
Oh,
the
okay.
audience score.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow,
I
great
don't
pick.
know how you ever thought that was a great score in any way.
Yeah. I enjoyed this movie for an hour and a half. If you want like a nice thriller, it was better than the last like quote unquote shape-shifting movie I saw. I think it was called Beyond the Door or something. It was about ghosts or some shit. It was stupid. But
I can't even think about that. When you say weird ghost movies, I think of Nicolas Cage's Pay the Ghost.
yeah. Well,
That's more what comes to my mind, in all honesty.
sure. The only member of the cast I think you'll recognize maybe is James Cosmo, who plays Dez in this. He was Jorah Mormont in Game of Thrones, the Bear, leader of the Night's Watch, before Jon Snow took over. I pointed that out to you, and you didn't even realize it.
That's because you really don't realize a lot of people in Game of Thrones.
No, because they're not in
all different.
period clothes.
They're all bearded. They're all
He had a beard in this one.
put with makeup and other stuff in there to make them look a certain way and weathered, and so when it comes to that or Lord of the Rings, it's kind of like hit or miss, because you also look at the height of what they are.
Right. Makes sense. But yeah, I feel like we're probably just gonna, because there's not much to say before.
No, except what was your first impression on this film? Because I've seen it once and mine improved actually with the second viewing.
I enjoyed it. It's a bit of a slow crawl, I will say, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because once it picks up, it picks up.
And I'd say that's the same thing with Mandy, because that's how Mandy worked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really the only actor we can mention, because it's a lot of these are it was made in Ireland, so it's a lot of these are Irish-born actors. So we in the States, where this is mostly listened to, we're not going to recognize a lot of these people, unfortunately. Which is a
Except
bummer.
for those who probably watch a lot of
more
indie films and
yeah,
whatnot. Yeah.
international as well. But yeah, you said your opinion improved. Would you care to elaborate or?
Sure. So the way that my opinion improved on this is because of the fact that it just was. It's one of those like same with Vivarium. It's
Yeah.
one of those that you're less bizarre, and I guarantee you, a lot of these people who reviewed this movie again, they're your casual film goers. They're not.
Yeah.
They want to see this Hollywood big horror jump scare bullshit, and that's not what makes a horror film.
Yeah, all the scares in this, they're not jump instinct. They're genuine fright, And I like that.
I mean, I'm sorry. Yes, you're gonna go ooh if somebody jumps out from you behind a hallway.
But that's not being afraid. That's instinct and reflex.
If I sat outside your window and stared at you,
I'd be like, oh god, no.
And then I moved, and then you saw me staring at you from another part of your house through a window,
I'd be like,
that would be fear.
Yeah.
Because you'd be sitting there like, not normal, not okay.
Yeah.
So that's what scary is. Not just throwing a bunch of jump scares, not just giving you the basic teenagers and the basic this. So
Fear was what we watched earlier, just a few minutes ago, was the opening 15 minutes of Army of the Dead. That was scary.
Yeah, I mean, what you guys really need to do, because I think we're both in the Facebook group. There's this Facebook group called
Nerd Tower? Or is
No.
it Film Nerd Tower?
No, it's
purely
simple horror. And they do a lot of indie films. You got a lot of people who recommend them, and it's a very open-minded community. So if you guys really want some actual good movies, and you guys want to actually see some great movies and what can be done with them, you guys need to check that out and be open-minded about it, because there's some.
Yeah, we're not like making the broad assumption that you're not open-minded. We're just saying to the people who maybe aren't, give some of these more of a chance, I guess I would say.
Yeah, in the kindest way possible.
Yeah, because you kind of came off a little like, oh, there, but no.
I just say because I think there's so many movies that people could be watching, especially when they have that movie night, and there's not everybody has kids and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So there's also that. I just want people to be more open-minded, because they don't know how much they're missing when they're very narrow-minded and set on just watching one particular movie.
Right. I will say it is pretty fitting that when you look up this movie,
Vivarium, getting into spoiler territory in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if you're still here, you're about to get some spoilers.
Yeah, you've either watched it or you just don't care. In either ways, hi.
Hello. And
what I like about the biggest similarity for me between Vivarium and Hole in the Ground. Really good child actors, especially at being creepy.
Which
both these kids in these movies can play creepy very well.
Which I don't think you guys actually realize how much nerve it takes for a child actor to be creepy.
Yeah.
It's very. I don't even know what the word would be.
I don't either.
It's a very tedious process. It's like Schwarzenegger with being a T-800. Everybody thinks that because they can do this, they
can do it. No, you gotta have no emotion.
You need to have no emotion. That means that when you look at somebody else off screen, you can't just start laughing.
Right, exactly.
You need to learn how to be stone cold, move, and just be in your movement. Mm-hmm. Not walk like a human. Walk like you're not human, or you don't have the capacity to realize what's around you.
Exactly. And hopefully I'm assuming most kids don't know how to just be creepy in general, so that must be difficult for them to learn.
For some of you parents, I mean, if you really want a good scare, I think this is the perfect one.
Some of you parents might have experienced a good scare by being asleep at 3 a.m. and waking up to just find your child staring through the open doorway.
Right. I mean, that's,
all kids do that. It's not just yours. I
mean, I personally don't trust children. I think they're little creeps.
I don't
think
trust children. Not I'm afraid of children. Not I'm scared of having children. I don't trust them.
no.
You want to elaborate at all?
I don't trust children. I think they're shady little beings that
Oh my god.
suck the life out of you. They're adorable.
That's because you're looking at parenthood from the outside.
I
You're not on the inside of it yet.
don't think it matters. They're always going to be creepy to me because
No.
the other thing that scares me about children is the fact that they all want to crawl on me, and that doesn't have any constitution of whether I've had kids or not. Every little kid that sees me,
because you're tall.
yeah, they assume I'm a giant. And my stepbrother broke his arm that way because I was on the phone and I wasn't paying attention to him when he was little, and he tried to jump off onto my back off a chair. He went to grow onto my back and jump on my back, and I moved and I didn't realize it.
Jeez.
And then he fell on the ground and broke his arm, and
My
I felt
God.
so terrible.
Yeah, of course.
So when I say I'm terrified of children, I'm terrified of children, and I think they're terrifying because their mind is on a whole different wavelength.
I reiterate,
And
you won't feel the same when it's yours.
Like that thing, when you watch like Sinister, and then you think about every time where a kid's like, "Oh, there's a monster in my closet or under my bed," and you're just like, and you're like, "Oh, it's okay," because you want to be that comforting parent, but you're also like, I hate it when kids say that.
Right.
And they just have that same old nightmare, and they're like, "There's something there," and you're like, "I don't want to think about that."
Again, you're gonna say I'm wrong, but you're not gonna feel the same when it's your children. You're never gonna once think my kid is creepy. You're gonna be like, no.
I'm gonna think their thought process is creepy, because it's gonna be very similar to mine.
Well, that's all. Yeah. But yeah, so
if you want a creepy movie that, may or may not make your kids creepy out a little bit, these are two good movies: Vivarium
and Hole in the Ground.
And
whatever,
the first Sinister, not the second one. You can't blame me for recommending that to you. So
oh God,
don't even say.
I have never been more disappointed in a movie than the second Sinister. Like the first Sinister had that effect of like. That's how I knew it was effective in being scary, because I watched it and I was still freaked out for like a week after. You know what I mean? Like I was still looking around like, I'm just gonna turn these lights on. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's the thing. Like, I can't watch Sinister alone. I feel like if I really were to possibly do so with, if I really tried with Hole in the Ground, I feel like I don't think I could probably watch that on my own either. It's kind of one of those.
As was proven, because you made me watch it on my own for a portion there.
Oh, that's because I had to go to the bathroom, but.
During the scariest part.
Hole in the Ground is one of those that I don't think you really can watch
by yourself.
Yeah.
That's fair. And I mean, it's, it has a premise that I know a lot of people who can relate to, because it starts off with a single mom driving with her son to a new home. And the single mom, it's implied, we never really hear anything more about it after a point, but it's implied that they ran away from the dad. Because you get the implication he was maybe abusive. That was the vibe I was getting?
Yeah, that was supposed to be the thing. The mother she basically has this bump on her head that she goes to get examined at the doctor, and what we eventually come to the conclusion to is that she says it was a car accident or something like that.
No, her husband hit her.
And the doctor starts questioning it because he's like, this is unlike any other,
Yeah, car bump
that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So we do get that, which, I'm glad that they didn't constantly go about that route, because I feel like a lot of those movies, there is a time and a place to make something like that work, or like a story about a spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a time where you just need to focus on the story, and I felt like The Hole in the Ground did a great job with that.
It did a good balance.
Yeah, I mean, that side implication, which is great. And they kind of just simply kind of a little bit alluded to it. Mm-hmm. Another example of a great movie that did that is the what am I trying to say? The Babadook. That's the movie.
The Babadook.
The
yeah.
Babadook. They did the. Babadook did a great job at bringing the idea of, tragedy with a spouse
Mm-hmm.
and making it central to the story without making it the main focus.
Right, yeah. And I feel like that's, have a key element to the story, but don't have it be your centerpiece.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people miss it. So that's why I was very excited with The Hole in the Ground. That's why I liked it so much.
Yeah.
Um,
Because you got, like, your main plot, but then you also got your little side story, that you find out eventually. And I like that.
yeah. Kind of figuring out
Because a big part of you is wondering what's going on with the son, but there's a small portion of you wondering why are they there in the first place, and you can't help but wonder that. So the fact that we get answers to both, great.
And it gives a great dynamic into the relationship of the mother and son.
Yeah.
Because it is...
The little game they play with the 3-second, make a face.
Yeah. And it is, I think, a thing of, how do you address that as a single parent?
Right.
On either side.
How do you ever talk about, we left daddy because he was hurting me? Especially to a kid. How old does he look in this?
I think he's supposed to be about 7 or 8.
Yeah. That sounds about right. He's tall for an 8-year-old.
I mean, I think that's what he's supposed to be, because it
Yeah.
doesn't really look like he's... He doesn't look like he's much older than that, but he looks tall. I mean, every kid is different. Mm-hmm. There was a couple of really tall kids in our school.
Yeah.
When I was in elementary school, so...
One thing I really like about this movie is the dialogue, especially coming from the kid. Because the kid talks how kids talk. You know what I mean? It wasn't written this is how a kid talks from the perspective of an adult. It's actually how a kid talks. Because, he says, my friend says this car looks like a pedo car. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's something the kid would say. And then he goes, he's like, he's an asshole. She's like, you can't say that. And he goes, can I say anus hole? No, but it's a science word. And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely a conversation I've had with my mom at his age.
My parents always told me not to say stupid, and I had to get clever, so I came up with Stuka.
Yeah, there you go.
And every time they would ask me,
what does
that mean? Stuka means stupid. I was like, no, what are you talking about?
You're like, and meanwhile, internally, you're like, damn it, they cracked the code.
Pretty much. It was very funny because I had this little blue Hot Wheels plane, and every time I used to think of the word stupid, I thought of the little blue plane. I have no idea why. That was really the definitive mind of a child.
Yep. Yep, for sure. But while they're driving to their new house, they almost hit a lady in the road. Nora.
Yeah, which,
She scared me. She scared me a lot.
Again, kind of with the creepy old person factor.
Yeah, the grandma in The Visit.
Yeah. Yeah, except the grandma in The Visit, she was she seemed more like a grandma, so...
Yeah. Well, and it's not, again, I said it to you while we were watching the movie, it's not Nora's fault. She has Alzheimer's.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's still that... I think both, because eventually we'll do The Visit. We won't really go into spoiler territory for that, but there is kind of, the idea that there could be some dementia and Alzheimer's there, too.
Yeah.
So...
Mental impairment, yes. But... Yeah, when she goes to check on her, she's kind of just whispering to herself, which is creepy. And and an important part that leads into the end of the movie is the fact that when she moves out of the way to not hit the woman, the mirror comes off their car.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's very important. So she ends up going to the new house, and we find out a few very important things. We find out that they have the game they play where they try to make the silliest face in 3 seconds. We also find out that there's a type of food that he doesn't like at all because it has powdered cheese that you mix in, kind of like powdered macaroni and cheese. I don't know if any of you guys had Kraft. I don't know if any. Let me rephrase. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been destitute.
The craft is good, man.
Yeah,
Especially when you get make your own homemade hamburger helper.
But it's that, and ramen that are that ramen and Pop-Tarts. Those are the three things most often eaten by college students, and there's a reason. They don't have money.
Well, correction, dorm students.
Yeah,
typically.
dorm students. Yes. Again, don't have money.
Because me as one, I don't have to do that. But for me, it's more like a McDonald's thing, and I'm trying to get out of that. Cause it's
fast food ain't great. Sometimes customer service ain't great either. But we don't need to go into that.
Oh yeah, for you guys, we'll eventually elaborate on some of the fun stuff.
Yeah, some of our fun friendship stories. Our adventures.
Yeah.
Anyways. So yeah, we find out a little more about them. He starts going to school. She starts working at like an antique shop. And then there's another creepy moment with Nora where she's kind of just... Well, first, actually, sorry. He gets scared of a spider. And she catches the spider. And she's going to set it free, but she's like, he's like, why don't you just kill it? And she's like, the spider never did anything to you, and they're important to like the environment. And he goes, Dad would kill it if he was here. And it's like, that kind of gives you a little... It kind of gives us, as the audience, a little bit of information about the father, in that maybe he was more violent. Like that subtle implication, you know?
Which, it is quite amazing how something so subtle can...
Give you the impression, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then she lets it out, and he steps on it, and then she chases him, and she loses him he gets lost in the forest, and then she finds a giant sinkhole. Like a huge sinkhole. And for those of you who don't know, sinkholes usually, they tend to happen right after floods or earthquakes, tectonic shifts, where just like there's nothing underneath the ground, so it kind of all just like descends. And it's really unnerving. Some people have it happen to their whole houses, which is again also creepy. Because like what kind of claim do you make for that?
And I doubt anybody who's listening at this point has really ever
experienced that, because it's not.
Well, no. I was gonna say who has played the game The Forest.
Yeah.
There's a giant sinkhole in there as well.
Yeah.
And
someone ventured in, did they?
Well, that's one of the things you have to do in the game. That doesn't spoil it, but it definitely is one of those things that...
It definitely seems like this movie may have drawn from that.
No.
No? Okay.
It's one of those things that it kind of makes you question.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But then she's like looking for him, and she sees him like at home.
Yeah, which is the big factor of okay, and that kind of gets you into your little mind fuck of
what's going on. And then later on, she comes home and the door's wide open, but then he's still just standing there, and it's like, oh, right, like he's doing unsettling things. And then later on, she's driving him home from school, and Nora starts to stand in front of the car. And then her husband, Des, comes out of the car and says, like, oh, sorry about her. She, it's just her issues. But then she walks up to the side of the car, looks at her son, and starts hitting the window aggressively, saying, he's not your son, he's not your son. And then she hits her head against the window, and I was like, Jesus, this lady. And then Des kind of drags her away. And we found out earlier from like people talking that I guess her son like went missing in the forest, and then he came back, and then she came into the classroom like yelling, "You're not my son!" And then later they found the kid was hit with a car, I think, and everyone like in town thinks, "Oh, she definitely did it because she went crazy."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my favorite things of this movie. It was how
well it was all set up for the reveal.
It was all set up.
Yeah.
And how well, because you always have the crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
But you always have to have the people that are like, oh no,
they say this happened. They say that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, okay. Well, what do we say to that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And then later we find Nora buried just her head under dirt, and she's dead. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the other thing that was really weird.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Why just her head? Like,
and who did it? Because that's
right.
the other question.
It adds a mystery element. And we go to the funeral, and Des, like, he's covered up all the mirrors in the house, because I guess he said that she started looking at her son through the mirrors, and he looked different.
Yeah, which was creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things that was kind of very unique.
Yeah. And we also get flashes of, like, her son, because, like, she's kind of, it seems like she's hallucinating, because there's a thing where her son's, like, arm wrestling with someone, and then she envisions her son, like, breaking that person's arm with just his hand, but then she blinks and sees that that's not happening, and I was like, oh, okay.
Which they never really describe why that is.
Yeah, why she's hallucinating about that.
So that one was kind of like a...
Just, maybe they wanted to add some maybe, that sounds like something a producer maybe said, oh, hey, why don't we add a weird vision scene? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of was hoping it was in depth. I mean, kind of scraping from what we know.
Yeah, this is just our
movie.
Just from watching this film. Yeah. And then she finds him, like, up late at night, and he's, like, eating spiders. And I was like, that... He went from being petrified of them to eating them? That's very... okay.
It was very, like, okay, that's one way to deal with your demons.
And then she also confronts him about it, and he, like, pushes a table and pushes her against the wall with the table.
Yeah, he does basically what an angry Superman would do.
Yeah. It gave me kind of... Bits of it gave me Brightburn vibes.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. They don't say that movie's Superman, but it's... Come on.
Well, James Gunn said it was supposed to be a dark Superman tale.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what he literally said. It's what if Superman turned dark?
Yeah.
And it was like...
Okay. Was that one made by Warner Brothers? Or no, it was made by Bad Robot, I thought, yeah.
Bad Robot produced it.
Mm-hmm.
And James Gunn... Well, I think he has his own company now, too. I can't remember. But anyhow,
yeah,
that's the vibes that it gave.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's something to be said about these movies where, you know, it's a cliche, the mother, and I really wish they would do a father-son dynamic.
Yeah.
And less toxic masculinity. Cause
yeah, please.
I'm lucky enough to have a dad who's not toxic masculinity. I have a dad who cares for me. And, I don't know. I kind of want to see a movie like this, but with a dad, because it's kind of like, you know, The Last of Us is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Of all the creepy creatures of the dark and having a father figure.
Mm-hmm. Even a reluctant father figure.
Joel isn't just like an ass all the time. He's like, suck it up. It's and I know a lot of people are like, well, maybe that's because Ellie is a girl. Well, no.
No.
You could still be just as much an ass and say, suck it up.
Yeah, exactly.
So...
I don't think it... I think a lot of parenting decisions are based on how you're raised. Like, my general understanding was when you become a parent, you think of your childhood. You keep the stuff that worked, and you take out the stuff that didn't work, you know? And you just adjust and tweak everywhere to maybe improve on your kid's childhood. And you know for a fact that eventually they will do the same when they have a kid. And that's just kind of how it works. So, I agree. I wish we could see, like... Because we don't see a lot of... To my knowledge, we don't see a lot of single fathers.
No, and I think it's a perfect opportunity nowadays because they really need to grab that by the balls and embrace it.
Like, I think, like... What's the one with from years ago? The Pursuit of Happiness. That's, like, the one I can remember.
That was also based off a true story.
Yeah, with Will Smith and Jaden Smith.
Yeah, I'll never quite understand why we don't have more movies like that, and why, because the indie community is the perfect place to experiment with these types of things.
It is, and absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, Vivarium took the idea, and the only reason that, like we said in our last episode, that Tom was an ass was because of the fact that he was like...
He was frustrated. He was very frustrated because he felt like he didn't have any control. And that's just kind of how he operates. You could tell that by his job choice of, being a groundskeeper where you have control over everything that's going on,
Well, I wasn't even going to say that. I was going to say for the fact of that literally he's trying to... They want him to raise a mutant.
Yeah.
Something creepy.
He's not a guy who's going to play someone else's games at all.
Yeah. Which, gave me the parasitic vibe again, but less so in this because of the way that the monsters are. And diving a bit of the monsters, bear with us here, I know we're kind of skipping around.
Yeah.
But the monsters in here are so...
creepy.
Interesting.
They're changelings. They're shapeshifters. Which I don't see a lot of movies with that dynamic, so I like that being explored more.
And it's as simple as a literal touch in order for them to shapeshift.
Yeah.
And take the form of whoever it is that they're going up against.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know how, personally, like, this is a fun game. Let's say I was in a situation... Well, I don't know how fun this is now that I'm actually thinking about it. Hold on. Yeah, no, this will be fine. Let's say I'm holding a gun, and there's two of you in front of me. What are you going to say to me to convince me that you're the real one?
See, that's the thing. Because that's what leaves these movies so open, and I kind of do want to see a sequel, but less exploring, like, the monsters. Still keep it with people experiencing what they are.
Yeah.
Blair Witch did a very good job of that.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of along those veins, because you had the Blair Witch Project. We're not talking about the god-awful second one.
Yeah. The third one was fine.
The third was, actually, that one scared me the most.
Mm-hmm. When they break the stick thing, and then
Yeah, everything in that movie. That movie, I also figured out, is another one that Noah does not watch alone and does not watch before bed.
Noted.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
As well as the game. The game is...
I played that with you once. Oh, buddy,
wow.
You were a mess.
That is the most psychological fuck with your head.
Yeah.
Because you can transcend time and reality, like, in the movie.
Yeah, you rewind the tapes, and it makes the things that happen in the tapes not happen.
Yeah, and it's like, wait, what? And it changed the environment, and I don't know how people get through that game. Eventually, when I have time and people to be around to play it.
Yeah.
But no, the monsters in here, if you're also a fan of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, this is kind of a...
I love the original is good. The one from the 80s with Jeff Goldblum, that one is great as well.
I have not seen either, and I want to.
So good.
Because Donald Sutherland was in the very, very original, wasn't he?
No, the one the very, very original was black and white.
That's right. So he was
Donald
in the Jeff Goldblum version. Okay.
They both play scientists.
Because that's always a fun treat. Yeah, this is a perfect creature feature, and I think once we get into website and stuff up and running, we'll label some pics for you guys or post them on the Instagram of movies that we think you guys should see.
If you like this, features. You might also like
Too often do we get movies that have good plots and solid characters and cool monsters.
Right.
Like this movie where nobody really compares them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the monsters in here are great. The tension of subtly, it's a way that these movies, and specifically this in Vivarium, found a way to make the normal, unnormal effective.
Mm-hmm.
Hole in the Ground was very effective at doing the story and presenting subtle changes in such a way that you started to notice them.
Right.
And now, obviously, from the viewer standpoint, you're going to have of course they have to put that in there for the viewer's sake. Mm-hmm. Of course. And one of the lines in there from the old man is, he says, his wife Edith, right?
Nora.
The one thing that he said about Nora is that when he starts talking to what's the mom's name again? I'm trying to think of that. The mom's name is... Or I don't even know if they even gave her a name.
They did. I thought they did.
They always credit them.
They must have.
Yeah, but when the old man is talking to Sarah about
Sarah.
Des Bradley, when Des is talking to Sarah about Noreen's experience,
her breakdown,
what she said about her son, he said one of the things he literally says is, it is things that she noticed, things that only
she noticed.
That only a mother would notice.
Right.
So there's something to be said, like, in a way that, I like movies that can make you think like that and put you in that position, but also movies that present itself in a way that you don't think the characters are just downright stupid.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, when you have your headphones in, you're going to hear a table that got launched across the damn room and smashed on a wall.
Yeah.
You're not going to be like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Exactly.
Okay, nothing. Like, what?
Like, the, well, it also says that it has a thing that's said to, like, parenting of, like, stereotypically anyway, your mom is kind of, depending on your situation, the one who is with you when you're that age. She is with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, sometimes, especially if it's the summer. So she's going to notice everything about you. So if something changes slightly, she's going to notice. That's how it was with probably your parents, like when you started changing your personality and like liking different things. Your parents probably picked up on that shit immediately,
I think my dad definitely did, because I spent a lot of time with my dad.
Yeah, exactly. And like I get the idea from Dez's character, because he was probably the provider, the breadwinner, if you will. He probably wasn't around as much as his wife was, who was taking care of the kids. So he wasn't noticing things like she was.
No, because that's like that I was kind of okay with, in the sense, because you always have that as a story arc, but it's one of those things that are true.
Right. Yeah. It's people are like, oh, it's stereotypical. No, it's true. It's just true. Like,
it is true. I mean,
like,
with
my
either
mom,
parent.
Like, and this doesn't go against either of my parents. My mom definitely knows more about me than my dad does, because she homeschooled me for 3 years. Like, she just she was around me more.
Did we also mention, I know before we go back into it, did we mention that Jacob Tremblay, the little kid, he's 14 now, but did we also mention that he was in Intruders, Shut In, The Predator, as I think that little kid as well, and Doctor Sleep. He was also the kid in The Room. Or not The Room, 2015 with Brie Larson.
Jacob Tremblay. He's not in this movie, dude.
He's not? Oh, I was looking at the wrong thing. Never mind.
Oh my god. It's okay, buddy. Although Jacob Tremblay is a great actor.
I was kind of looking here at the credits and I was on the wrong tab.
That's okay. That happens. So anyways, did you want to get back into it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she starts to notice things that, like the guy says, only a mother would notice. And she starts filming him. She sets up a camera in his room so she can see, like, him eating the spiders. And she gets it on footage and she shows it to Dez. And she's like, that's why Nora did all this, because she knew, like your kid, that wasn't her kid. Someone took over. And he flips and he's like, I don't want to believe it, and just throws the camera. And you get the sense, especially from that line of, she noticed things only a mother would notice, he feels like he failed, not only as a parent, but as a husband. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I agree, because, like, how... Honestly, let's be real. How do you express...
that much pain?
How do you express an idea that everybody's telling you is not real...
Right.
when your significant other or somebody you love is seeing it? Because you can't really pick both sides. You need to be the person, because every time you're always going to have the doctor and the other people that are like, no, well, you must be crazy too.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like...
It's a thing for me of, like, if my partner was saying all this stuff, I'm more adept to trust my partner than, like, probably even the police to an extent. You know what I mean? Because it's like relationships are built on trust. If you don't have trust, you don't have a relationship. That's my personal thought. But
Right.
so if I came home and my hypothetical wife, don't have one, can't wait for one though. Like how I'm talking about it like it's an Amazon package. No, no, like if your spouse told you like, oh, there's someone in the attic, like it's very different from like your friend or your roommate telling you that. Because if your roommate said there's someone in the attic, it's like, we'll all stay here together, we'll be safe, we'll call the police. If your wife told you that, I feel like there's more of a sense of urgency, so I feel like I would feel the need to go up to the attic and see you know what I mean?
It's a sense of protecting the ones
Yeah.
you love. It's same thing if your mom or your dad was there. I mean, most of the time, depending on your age, you associate that with your dad as the one who goes out and tries to look and be like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
So
like your dad's the one who you ask to check under your bed for monsters.
Yeah, because it's just a kind of one of those you're drawn naturally to one parent or the other, and that can always alter too, depending on.
Well, it's also like it's a biological like it's like an animalistic mammal trait of like the male, generally speaking, in most like species, they're usually the stronger one. Because that's like the female lions hunt, but the male lion is there to protect the tribe or the pride.
Which is kind of funny because it's like the women go on and the most vicious and more capable of destroying.
Well, they go into
the predator.
They go into that in Logan. Remember? Because like the male, he has 3 claws because he's the male. But Laura, she's got the back claws because same with tigers, female tigers, they have back claws in their feet more than in their hands.
I didn't look into it too much.
No, they say it straight up like that's part of the dialogue.
Oh, then no.
That's something Charles says to him. Because of course he's curious of why the hell does she have a claw on her foot? You'll have to rewatch it, man, while I'm out of town.
When I make some time, I'll
of course.
again.
Of course.
But no, being said, I mean, it's just these little awesome things that they kind of sprinkle in for movies and stuff like that.
Like, and then one of the things I love is after Des leaves, she starts testing again. Like, she's like, "Oh, I'll make your favorite food," and it's the food that he hates, but he seems to enjoy it. And then she tries to do the count to 3 game, but he doesn't do anything. So she starts backing away slowly and is like, "You're not my son. You're not my son. You're not my son." And then he like does this weird shriek and like tackles her he tackles her off camera, and we hear the scuffle, and then we see her fly through frame again. And I love that because it's like sometimes, a lot of the time actually, your imagination is more effective than what's getting shown to you on screen. Would you say that's true?
I would say that's 99 or 98% of the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Because your mind, when it races, can come up with so many scenarios. That's the only reason you're fearful, because you're thinking of, well, this could be the worst, this could be the least worst, but that's also being said that the least could also be the worst because you haven't anticipated what happens next.
Exactly. But she ends up waking up, and he's like digging a hole, and he puts her head in the hole and then starts covering it. But then he falls asleep because she drugged him, because she was earlier in the movie prescribed anxiety medication due to like her head. So she gave it to him and he passed out. So then she tied him up in her like inside the house, and she's going to go and try and find her son because she's pretty sure he's in the sinkhole. And she like descends down slowly, and
it's basically like quicksand. She just gets sucked in.
Yeah, it's like, and like her looking is very like you said before to me, it's claustrophobic and it's uncomfortable, and it's a lot like Oh, what was that movie we were saying it was like?
Descent.
The Descent, thank you. Yes, it's a lot like The Descent. It gave me very much vibes of that. And then she finds him, and we actually see what the creatures look like. And it's frightening. They actually do remind me a lot of the creatures of The Descent, in that they're kind of like... They're like genderless, and they just have like blank faces, and then their mouths open up to the size of their face, and it's like... This is nightmare. This is nightmare fuel. Like 1,000%, that's what this is. You know what I mean?
I like too that they kind of took like a Slenderman design and gave the facelessness, except they actually did something, and it wasn't all about sharp teeth. If you look up
Right.
the movie right now called The Devil's Gate,
Yeah.
which I would implore you to do, if you look at the design of that, that isn't the best movie. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's something that I do need to watch again, though. It does have, I believe, it's Sean Ashmore in it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep, and Jonathan Frakes from Star Trek, and Javier Botet, who has played Mama.
Milo Ventimiglia. He's in a lot of stuff.
Javier has played. He plays the humanoid at Devil's Gate, but he plays Slenderman. He's played Mama. He's done so many great movies because he's got that tall contortism.
Yeah, he reminds me of oh god, who I'm blanking on names tonight. I am so sorry. I'm usually really good at this. I'll have to look up his name.
But if you guys look up Devil's Gate, you
Doug
should
Jones.
see
Doug Jones. He reminds me of Doug Jones. That's who it is. He plays Abe Sapien in the Hellboy movies, and he plays two of the creatures in Pan's Labyrinth. He's very like...
Yeah, he plays what's his name in Star Trek Discovery.
Yep.
As well. But yeah, if you guys look up the humanoid from Devil's Gate movie,
looks similar to that.
I'm mostly referencing the face.
Yes, the 2017 film, not the 2004 film. There's a 2004 film with the same name.
Yeah, which actually, this is actually just called Devil's Gate, not even The Devil Gate.
Yeah.
But, yeah, take away those fangs and stuff, and that's kind of what you got there for that monster. I don't know if you can actually look for the monster, or like look up the monster design for this particular
the hole in
the ground for this particular movie. I'm pretty sure you guys can.
Probably.
It's a really great reference guide. So if you guys are like into the monster design, I believe in the special features too, they kind of go about how they made it. Because yeah, it's so cool. I think the thing that made these monsters most effective, though, and that the last scene, before the last scene of her sinking into that, her going into the sinkhole, is that not only is it like claustrophobic, but it's also thinking about, and that's one of the other things in the forest. It's thinking about these subhumanoids just living underground. That there could be a whole civilization just underground, not even just replacing us, just all underground.
It kind of reminded me of, you heard about what how Shin Godzilla was originally supposed to end, right?
No.
So originally, my brother told me about this, and that's how I know about that. Originally, he was supposed to, like, after the end of the movie where he gets destroyed and like dissipates, it was apparently the end shot was supposed to be like a bunch of small hands coming up, and the director wanted to get a sequel, but they knew they probably weren't going to. But it was supposed to be like they were shapeshifters, and they were slowly going to assimilate themselves into society, and that's how they were going to take over. Which kind of fits that whole, like, I feel like to me it fits that whole like environmental narrative of like, the worse the Earth gets, the less we seem to notice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't see that as a kaiju movie. I like the concept, But I mean, that is also probably why you have an alternative universe too.
Yeah, sure.
So,
And who knows? Maybe after Shin Ultraman, he might get his Shin Godzilla too.
well, they were talking about that, but that's a discussion for another video.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But no, I've always liked the idea of these unknown things that you kind of don't know, but they just reside somewhere else. They're not, they're nothing major. They're nothing that you'd expect, and they're just small, and they're just kind of there.
Right, like it's kind of like you mentioned as well, the monsters in Society. Thanks for making me watch that movie, by the way.
I mean, say what you want. I thought that was a perfect movie, to be honest, because it gave you that. It did its job.
Yeah.
It was disturbing.
Okay.
And I mean, while it took things to another disturbing level, which it's Brian Usna.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think it had to go that far.
No, it did not.
And it could have worked just as a creep factor with body horror.
Yeah.
The reason I love Society is taking all that stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
You have the template of what happened with the hole in the ground, but if you were amongst everybody, if what had already happened had happened, which...
How dare you say that that's a perfect movie, though? Like, you think perfect movie, and you don't immediately think of House?
No.
Oh, come on! That is the perfect movie.
But I would love to see what it would be like to have a movie where, like, it had the themes of the hole in the ground of Vivarium. I mean, imagine that. Imagine if we had one type of humanoid, or if he would have dropped the humanoid from Vivarium, and we would have had, let's say that we had the changeling shapeshifters, but they were all living amongst that community.
Yeah. Well, that gives me that kind of like the idea that everyone in a community is like that except for you. That kind of gives me 1BR vibes. Thanks again for that movie. No,
That one we went into both blindly.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
And even I was like, please tell me this isn't going to be one of those extended things. But that is a fun episode that we may or may not have done for you guys. So
depending on scheduling.
I mean, it's possible that it'll come out this year in a couple of months.
Yeah, but anyways, so she sees the she finds her son. She sees the changelings, and one starts to chase after them. And while she's crawling up with her son, it grabs her and she starts hitting with a flashlight, and then its hand turns into like a human hand, and she looks at it and it looks exactly like her. And the idea that it can happen A, that quickly, and B, that easily, like all you need to do is make skin contact and bam, that's terrifying to me.
Yeah. Also the fact that she was dragging her son, mind you, to try and get out of here.
Yeah.
Which it's also like, I mean, you got
Mom of the
bear
year.
strength.
Mom of the year.
How do you sit and be able to physically do that? Adrenaline or not, you're in a tight corridor and
there's not a lot of places to push off of.
No, it's not like you're trying to lift a car with adrenaline to get to your kids. It's literally you're in a hole. You have these beasts that you just pissed off because now they're awake.
Right.
And they're like, "Hey, what the hell? What are you? You're in our home."
Exactly.
And then they're like, "Okay, now we're gonna be like ants, and we're gonna have to attack you. Now you're gonna have to die."
Yeah, but then it cuts, and they've gotten out, and then she brings him home, but then she remembers, oh right, the other him is in the house, so she decides to burn down the house and drive away with her son. And then it feels like it cuts to like a different amount of time because she's talking to other people. He's going to a new school. It shows him riding around in a circle on his bike. She's taking photos of him, checking to make sure it's still actually her son. And then it pans out, and right before the credits roll, we see her house is covered in mirrors. Just covered in mirrors. And you pointed out, because I guess you were saying you had watched it with someone else, and they were like, at least it's a happy ending. This isn't a happy ending. She is paranoid for the rest of her life.
That was my comment. I was like...
this is not a happy ending.
No.
Her life is never going to be the same. She will always be looking over her shoulder.
Same thing like it could be said for Vivarium. I see people saying, well, at least, it's known what the beasts are in some capacity. I'm like, but they're not. By who?
The people who figured it out are dead.
They'll
Two
die.
other victims came
Or,
in. Like,
you know, the other thing that people are always saying was like, well, at least the victims aren't suffering anymore. Yeah, but now
they're
who's gonna tell anybody?
But how they're not suffering is they're dead.
Yeah, it's like,
like, come on.
And that's not to say that, you know, what if these things snatch your souls?
Right, exactly. Who knows? Who knows if they're
just
just in a hellscape in the bottom of that place? Yeah. But overall, I enjoyed this. Thanks for picking this for our list this week. This was fun.
Yeah. We got a little bit of time left, so I kind of want to.
We got some final thoughts.
Ramble up about it. I mean, there's another movie called The Wretched, which we didn't get to, but I would have rather done if I had remembered it when we had time. It's very similar to this as well, but it's kind of more of a Summer of '84 Disturbia. And I wouldn't even say that. I would take more the Fright Night.
Yeah. Did you watch Disturbia?
Route. Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say, I was like, I thought I was the one who told you about that movie.
No. No, I would say it's more Fright Night meets this, because the whole idea is that, you know, the person is possibly possessed. And,
possibly, yeah.
You know, other quick note that I meant to say earlier is, while this movie does, you know, like we said, it is slow at the beginning, but really picks up. One other thing you have to remember is that the movie Mandy does a great job. That was something my dad couldn't get through, and I was like, you have to stick with it. Because when that movie gets going, it goes. All hell breaks loose. If you want to see why Nicolas Cage is still one of the greatest actors, that is. And I know people are like, well, that's a ballsy statement. Well, it's really not. Nicolas Cage is, if you guys really sit and think about it, Nicolas Cage is the exact opposite of Jim Carrey.
Exactly.
He is the over the top in his role, in his energy.
Yeah. How I have categorized Nicolas Cage for myself. He's not a bad actor. He's not a good actor. He's not a so bad he's good actor, and he's not a so good he's bad actor. He's Nicolas Cage. That's the best I can describe him and his performances. He's Nicolas Cage.
Because there are movies that he can do completely normal like any other actor, and there's movies like Mandy where it's like, it is absolutely insane that he has that range.
There are movies like in Kick-Ass where he's like, you know, a superhero dad and has his own other issues about everything. But then there's movies like Con Air where he makes accent choices and sticks with it, no matter how not convincing they are. Why didn't you put the bunny back in the box?
Or, you know, the iconic, you know...
Honeymoon in Vegas?
No, I was going to say the Burning Man, or no, the...
How to Get Burned! How to Get Burned! How to Get Burned!
No, it's... what is the name of it, though?
You're thinking of Burning Man. The Wicker Man.
The Wicker Man, that's
the remake
right.
of The Wicker Man.
Yeah, which I was about to say, you know...
Burning Man is a festival. What am I talking about?
Yeah, that's what I was like. I think that's partially where they got it, though.
Yeah. No,
no, I love that scene. How to get burned! How to get burned! How to get burned! How to get burned!
Mom and Dad. We got
Mom and Dad was another great film. That was full of over the top excitement, which we'll have to do because it's made by the same director who did Crank.
Yeah, and it shows.
But all the stuff that in the music choices was like, no, you can't do that here.
Yeah.
But I would honestly, and I know a lot of people are always like, well, let's stay in their range. They need to stay in their lane. And it's like, no,
you gotta have.
I would like to see him make a horror film.
Experiment.
I feel like it could be very good, like Hatchet, but I feel like atmospheric. There's an unreleased track from the movie, the game Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
Whoa, that track, because I know I mentioned too The Thing.
Yeah.
That has it sucks all the air, that theme. And all the music and stuff out of the air.
It just leaves you wondering.
This track does that worse.
Yeah.
In a good way.
That's awesome.
It sucks everything, and you're sitting there like,
I won't add this.
I feel my heart pounding in my chest.
Yeah, why am I feeling this way?
I feel like somebody is watching me, and then it picks up, and it's like, I feel like I'm in danger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you not use that track?
Exactly. I think I enjoy personally, if we're talking about Nicolas Cage stuff still, I personally enjoy his earlier stuff from when he was younger. You know,
Interview with the Vampire.
Interview with the Vampire.
Well, or no, Kiss of...
Interview with the Vampires with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I was going to say Kiss of the Vampire.
Vampire's Kiss, I think it is. I think so. There's a Jim Carrey movie that has a very similar title. But Honeymoon in Vegas, Raising Arizona, the original... he was in the original version of a movie that just got remade that you actually bought a copy of. It's like a musical from the... that's supposed to be set in
the 80s. Valley Girl?
He was in the original Valley Girl as the original love interest guy. He has a great line in there because they go to like they go to Hollywood, which at the time was like really, really seedy and ghetto, and that's where he lives. And they're like, her friends are like, we're not going in there. We're staying in this car. And he goes, all right, well, just if someone tries to steal the radio, don't let them. And he says it so casual, and it's so funny.
There's the other movie too, The Trust, with Elijah Wood, and that's how they became friends and how he produced a lot of his stuff, like Come to Daddy. Yeah. Which is a great Elijah Wood movie, and Mandy, which Elijah Wood helped produce for him as well. So
yeah,
I would love to see a director like Panos Cosmatos or the guy who did Crank do a movie, because I can imagine seeing these humanoids running through the woods and chasing after people with a very good, tense overlay soundtrack would be like, and it's just beautiful to think about.
It is Vampire's Kiss from 1988. I'm sorry, how can you see this face and not be interested in the movie?
Well, yeah, it looks like a horror film.
Exactly. And he has so many famously improv lines from his earlier days, and in that one he improvises the entire alphabet. He's like, you're supposed to put the files, in alphabetical order. A, B, C, D, E. And he goes through the whole alphabet in this psychiatrist's office. Oh my god. I will never be tired of seeing that. And then in Honeymoon in Vegas, where the line is, "Yoo-hoo, can I get a room?" and he sings his line, "Yoo-hoo, can I get a room?" Like,
it is Nicolas Cage.
How can you get to a point in your career where you get to sing your lines and the director's like, "Sure." Face Off.
Yep, that's also a good one.
Yeah, that opening scene in Face Off. Okay.
Yeah. Watch Nicolas Cage compilation, everybody. It's great.
Watch his movies; they're great. But
without further ado, that closes out this episode.
That was The Hole in the Ground. Thank you all for listening on either YouTube, Spotify, or Anchor, or wherever else this is by the time you're listening to this in the future.
And if it's on somebody's bootleg website,
let
us know. That's a no-no. Or thank you for tuning into this telepathic broadcast.
Yes.
However that works. And...
Yes. We're going to do a message in Morse code now. All right. He's been Noah Sweeto.
He's been Nathaniel Shoemaker.
Thank you all for tuning in to Film Nerds Hour. We will see you next time.
See you later, everyone.
Bye.